High Court judgment refusing to lift the ban on hijab in educational institutions of the state. Justice Hemant Gupta framed 11 questions against the government order. The answers to all these questions, according to him, were against the appellants. Hence, he dismissed all the petitions and maintained the status quo over hijab ban in educational institutions. On the other hand, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia had a different opinion on the matter. He believed that wearing hijab was ultimately a matter of choice, nothing less, nothing more. Justice Dhulia also added asking girls to take off their hijab for education was an attack on their privacy and dignity. The Karnataka High Court had said that wearing hijab was not an essential religious practice according to Islam. The court added that prescription of uniform is a reasonable restriction on the fundamental rights. So what really happened today? Here's a quick wrap.
There is no end to the hangama over hijab. 7 months after the Karnataka High Court upheld a government order banning hijab in educational institutes. Petitions challenging the hijab ban led to a split verdict in the Supreme Court. While one judge, Justice Hemant Gupta, dismissed the petitions, the other judge, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, was of a differing opinion. He said asking girls to take off their hijab is an attack on their privacy and dignity. He said that under the Indian constitutional scheme, wearing a hijab should be simply a matter of choice. It may or may not be a matter of essential religious practice, but it is still a matter of conscience, belief and expression. He said the government order and restrictions on hijab goes against value of fraternity and human dignity. The case has also to be seen in the perspective of the challenges already faced by a girl child in reaching her school. And are we making the life of a girl child any better by denying her education merely because she wears a hijab?
प्राइम मिनिस्टर से सबसे पहले मैं ये अपील करना चाहूँगी कि वो हमारे एजुकेशन को हम पे छोड़ दें और हमारे हिजाब को उसमें कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ना बने हमारा हिजाब, क्योंकि देखिए हिजाब हमारा राइट है और हमें इसको फॉलो करना है.
The matter will now be placed before the Chief Justice of India, who will constitute a larger bench to hear the case afresh. Till then, the hijab ban remains in place.
I expect the judgment. Definitely it will be in favor of Karnataka's rules and act. Whatever the rules and regulations which have been followed now will be valid till the judgment of the higher bench comes.
But many in the opposition are hoping for a more favourable order from a larger bench.
जो हाई कोर्ट का जजमेंट था मेरी राय में it was bad in law, bad in terms of its contents, or it had misused Quranic commentaries and translation. This has serious ramifications and should not have been allowed.
But at a time when women worldwide are demanding not to wear the hijab, can individual choice override institutional autonomy?
Now, let me give you a sense of what the hijab backers are saying and what is the viewpoint of those who are opposing it. Pro-hijab, or the defenders, say that Hindus, Sikhs are allowed to wear their religious symbols on their sleeves. Those who are opposing hijab are of the opinion that government has the right to impose uniform, which is essential in schools and in several colleges. Now, another viewpoint is that not allowing hijab is selectively targeting Muslims. What about other religions, they ask. On the other hand, the argument is that religious dress is a barrier between students and teachers. The idea is of uniformity. Then, the second set of argument is that hijab along with uniform is not a grave impediment. So, wear a uniform, but on the top of it, you can wear that headgear. It's not about the burqa, but just about that headgear. On the other hand, the argument is that the main concept of school uniform is to maintain uniformity, as I just said. The Muslim personal law protects right to wear hijab is what the argument for hijab is. Those who are opposing it are saying that uniform helps in instilling that sense of camaraderie among students. All of them should look alike, should look uniform. The Kerala High Court, remember, had called hijab as an essential religious practice. But hijab opponents are saying that religious dress code in schools encourage groupism. So you should be all looking alike. So there are several criticisms to the split verdict as we are looking at today. And one of those who has come out expressing his views is Asaduddin Owaisi, MIM chief, is joining me live. Mr. Owaisi, appreciate your time. How are you looking at today's split verdict, sir?
Well, honestly speaking, I was personally expecting that after the fantastic arguments that were made by senior lawyer Shri Dushyant Dave and then Devdutt Kamath, Nizam Pasha and other lawyers, we were expecting a unanimous verdict in favor of hijab. But the Honorable Supreme Court judges have decided, which they have a right to differ, and they have differed. But one must remember that one Supreme Court judge has given a judgment in favor of hijab. So this I would call a welcome decision of this Honorable Supreme Court, that a single one of the judges had given such a judgment.
So the entire hijab debate here in India is also being looked at in the context of the rebellion and this entire movement that is playing out in Iran, where women are burning hijab and cutting their hair. How do you view this entire argument that it's not a choice, but clearly a regressive practice?
Well, to answer a question, first of all, it is very wrong on anyone's part to compare India with Iran. India is a country where you have a constitution which has no religion. India is a country where pluralism is a fundamental right. India is a country where choice and privacy is a fundamental right. That is not the case in the country which you have mentioned. And thirdly, end of the day, it is a right to choice which the Indian constitution gives you, whether you want to wear a particular dress or not. So that is the difference. So now I happen to see one video wherein one woman anchor of an English channel is cutting her hair. It is her choice to cut her hair or to remove her hair. But why can't that anchor wear a hijab, or at least say that what the Muslim girls, children are wearing a hijab in Karnataka is a right to choice? So this is clearly, I would call it an intellectual dishonesty for people who are questioning the Muslim girl child right to wear a hijab in India, and to say that, look, in Iran it is not being allowed. So why are you asking Indian Muslims what is happening in Iran? The last point.
Okay.
And it is completely wrong on their part to compare India with Iran.
The larger constitution bench, Mr. Owaisi, will be looking at multiple aspects, whether hijab is an essential religious practice, intrinsic to Islam, whether in case of private institutions, what really prevails, institution or individuals. How do you look at that? Because let's not forget that it has been established by investigating agencies that it was the Popular Front of India that was behind the anti-hijab protests that played out in Karnataka.
No, I would just stick to the hijab judgment which was given by the Honorable Supreme Court today. It was not a dissenting judgment. It is a split verdict, yes. As you rightly said. The one honorable judge, both the honorable judges differed and gave a different opinion. Now, going forward, I would reiterate what Justice Dhulia has said, that he said that the main thrust of my judgment is not the concept of, is the entire concept of ERP was not essential to dispute. The Karnataka High Court took a wrong path. So he said that it is ultimately a matter of choice and nothing more and nothing less. And I'll conclude by, my answer to a question by quoting what Justice Chinnappa Reddy said in the BJ Emanuel case on August 11, 1986. He said suspending students based on their consciously held religious faith violated the constitution. And Justice Dhulia has rightly pointed out the BJ Emanuel case wherein children belonging to the Jehovah's Witness, They stood up when the national anthem was sung, but they did not sing it.
Owaisi Saab, since you are quoting Justice Dhulia also said that what really was on his mind and primary question before him, whether we are making girl students' lives better by putting such restrictions when her education is concerned.
Yes, the important points, though the judgment has not been uploaded as we speak as of now, the important point which in my layman's opinion are, he talked about right to choice. He said that the Karnataka High Court was wrong to go into this concept of ERP. Thirdly, he raised that point which you have just mentioned, that how are we making life better for a girl child, because he rightly pointed out that it is common knowledge for girl children to do household chores in urban, in semi-urban, in rural areas before going to school. You know, it is very right. He has touched a very raw point of our society. That is the reality which the Honorable Judge has mentioned today.
So my last question to you, what has happened here is that hijab is now in the domain of politics rather than personal space and culture. Who is doing politics on this?
Well, you must understand that religion and culture are protected by the Constitution. In fact, culture is an unfettered fundamental right in our Constitution. You see, the argument given by BJP is completely farce. Why I say that is that because uniformity, Maria, is not a fundamental right in our Constitution. Freedom of religion is. Uniformity or sameness is not part of our basic structure. You know, pluralism and diversity is part of a basic structure of Constitution. Thirdly, equality does not mean the removal of diversity. That is very important. You know, if children of our country go to school and they see each other wearing a hijab, a sindoor, a Sikh turban or a vibhuti, they will appreciate the beauty of our country and will be preparing themselves for going into the world. If you say that everything, other religious practices will be allowed in school, but not the hijab, that child will form an opinion that this Muslim child is low in my opinion. Do we want that to happen? Because these children are the foundations for our country. They will be heading the country. They will be leading the country tomorrow. The whole future of our country we will be placing on these children of today who will be leading this country tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much for your time here. Asaduddin Owaisi there, MIM chief, expressing his views on the split verdict of the Supreme Court. Let me bring in my panelists. Karuna Nandi, senior advocate of the Apex Court. Mamta Kale is a political analyst. We have A.M. Dar, senior advocate, and Ambar Zaidi, social activist. Karuna, I'm going to begin with you, Ms. Nandi. Since the Supreme Court hasn't stayed the order by the Karnataka High Court, the notification of the Karnataka government stands. Ma'am, what are the questions before the court going forward?
I think it's very important to understand that this is not a question of whether you are pro-hijab or anti-hijab. That's the conversation on Twitter, right? I think this is a conversation in the Supreme Court. The conversation is constitutional and hence completely different. The conversation is this, that if you go by what Justice Dhulia's framing of the question is that under Article 19, is it sufficient for a conscientiously held religious belief that is not disturbing others, like Bijoy Emmanuel, where the Jehovah's Witnesses were silent and not singing the national anthem, right? Is that sufficient to allow you to wear the hijab? Also, that when it is an individual right, must it be proven that it's an essential religious practice or not? Indeed, is it even required? Because don't essential religious practices, as Justice Dhulia has, I think in a very, very important statement, he has said that when you find that something is an essential religious practice, you are taking away the choice of people to agree with it or not, or to interpret the religion according to their own conscience. And this is essential because many religions are controlled by patriarchs,
Yes,
by
that's right.
conservatives,
Yes.
by throwbacks, right? And what this does, what his judgment does, it says that, look, it doesn't matter whether it's an essential religious practice or not. If these young girls felt that it was a conscientiously held belief that they must wear the hijab, then this is something that must be upheld. Now, the thing is that we must deeply understand that this would include the choice not to wear the hijab.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And because people sometimes people sometimes juxtapose the Iranian revolution as being contrary to this issue, and it is not. It is entirely consistent. It is the right for people to approach their religion and their schools and
But
their
Ms. Nandi,
educational
in
institutions
Iran,
with
because
their
it's an Islamic
well-held
republic,
conscience.
because
Yes.
it is Islamic republic, it is not really a choice there. There it is an imposition by the state.
You're absolutely right.
Which begins from the age of 7. So it's not really an agency. What we are seeing play out in Iran, women are and young girls are being forced to wear hijab. Let me take
That's
that
correct.
argument forward with AM Dar.
And it's not inconsistent with this, is my only point.
Okay.
So please, let's hear another voice.
Yes, AM Dar, right to education is a fundamental right now as per the constitution. It has been given to us. Is right to education now in conflict with right to practice religion? But again, when we look at right to religion, let's not forget that what we are seeing here is minors in most of these cases who are and can be seen that this patriarchal norm is being forced on them. I'll understand that if a woman above the age of 18 wants to wear hijab, it can be seen as choice. But below 18, and if these are government institutions where there is a uniform, then which right prevails? The right of an institution or right of an individual?
This is clear as far as our constitution is concerned. There are 3 provisions in the constitution, articles 19, 22, 25. And apart from that, we have a protection, constitutional protection. We are living in a democratic secular country where rule of law is to be maintained. Rule of law shall prevail all the time. And even apart from these 3 articles which I mentioned, there is a preamble in the Indian constitution where you have protection of belief, where you have protection of faith, where you have protection of choice. Preamble has been held by the Honorable Supreme Court to be a part of the constitution. So the Karnataka High Court judgments were totally perverse. It was with all immense respect to the honorable judges. And that is why, since we are living in a democratic country, you see, hijab is basically, there's a commandment from Allah. 3 surahs, 3 verses of Quran are there, which I also recited in when I argued the matter on behalf of the petitioners. So therefore, as far as the Quran is concerned, this is the commandment from Allah. How can we forget that? We are asking the girls that they should protect their privacy, chastity, and this is their individual choice. And then, since we are living in a democratic country, how can the state, there will be a restriction which are not reasonable? Because you see, Maria, one instance I will give. This was the order which I advanced before the Honorable Supreme Court in the open court. I said that wearing a hijab, we are only covering our 3 vulnerable parts, the head and the chest and the face. So this, in fact, improves the beauty and protects the
Mr. Dar, while I understand that there has been a split verdict, but the question of essential religious practice, I'm going to take that forward with Karuna in just a bit. But before that, Amber Zaidi, while the criticism is that this juxtaposition with women of Iran should not be there, but how can hijab for minors be seen as choice? Don't we know that there has been misuse of the authority that has been given to the men in various societies, and they have misused their authority by forcing certain practices on women, and they have made this about essential religious practice when Quran itself says Iqra, go read, padho, where the emphasis is on education more than covering yourself.
Of course, Maria, I wanted to mention that with almost ayat you just mentioned, the people and especially the Muslim leadership who were saying that it is a freedom of choice for girls. Now, when this split verdict has come, now they are saying that it is not a matter of freedom of choice or Article 19, what they have been mentioning. It is essential to Islam, and we have seen numerous High Court rulings regarding that this hijab or burqa is not an essential practice of Islam. We have five commandments which ask us to keep roza, namaz, hajj, zakat, and taqwa and everything, which is required to become a Muslim. But contrary to that, what is and how they have been justifying this regressive practice on young girls, as you said, underage girls. Can we impose such practices on young girls and say that this is their freedom of choice? No, absolutely not.
So it's a convenient logic now to make it about freedom of choice, when it is really not freedom of choice.
Maria, it is where the hypocrisy in ways, where in crucial time where entire globe is looking at India as a nation, that India is the largest democratic republic. And today could have been a bigger day, and we could have eradicated, and by declaring or giving a unanimous verdict.
Yes, Ms. Nandi, what we have seen is that what played out in the context of triple talaq. The All India Muslim Personal Law Board kept justifying it, saying that it is part of Sharia law, that it is part of, one moment, Ms. Zaidi, I am going to come back to you. It was a similar justification that came from the men among the Muslims, that it was part of Quran, that it was Sharia law, that it is imposition, interference with personal laws. All these arguments played out. But when they realized that this is not an essential religious practice, just as hijab is not essential religious practice, they backed off by saying that, we'll be looking at reforms within the society or within the community. Don't you think that when minors are wearing hijab, it's not choice? It is not choice, it's imposition.
Separate questions, Ms. Shakil. Let's go to your second one, that about the imposition on minors, right? These are these are adolescents, teenagers, in the last couple of years of school. I think this is the particular cohort that the notification applied to, right? Now, let's look at what the Child Rights Convention says about choice. The way it works is that there is an evolving capacity of children to choose as they grow older. Also, so therefore, if you look at Bijoy Emanuel, for example, it was a similar argument, it was a similar context where you had Jehovah's Witness children expressing their beliefs, in senior schools, right? Also, this is not something I think that came up with any measure of detail in the Supreme Court. So this is my personal view. In terms of what the Supreme Court is saying, it's not there as much. But when you apply this question of conscience to and conscientiously held religious belief, and the power of the state to derogate from Article 19 and Article 25, if it is not within the 8 categories, decency, public health, decency, morality, sedition, etc., in Article 19.2, or under Article 25, public health, morality, etc., right? Then there is no space for the state to make a law limiting people's conscience. Let me give you an example. If you had someone who was wearing a patka in school, is this something that would take away from the fraternity, as the first judgment says, that seeks to take away all hijabs and other religious markers? I mean, not Sikhism, for some reason that is seen to be different, which I completely do not understand. But that judgment says that there must be uniformity, and it is uniformity that breeds fraternity. That, in my very respectful view, is a sort of deep misunderstanding of what fraternity means under our constitution. Under our constitution, there is an understanding that we're lots of different kinds of people, And as lots of different kinds of people, we need to respect each other's conscientiously held religious beliefs. The reason that I think that we should be very, very clear, I see the hijab as personally, as a patriarchal imposition on
Yes.
women,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Do I think that my conception of this patriarchal imposition should govern what somebody else thinks? No.
Yes.
Do I believe that because I think that high heels are bad for the back, and this is well established, and that I think that they're a patriarchal product of society, that I should ban women from wearing high
Okay.
heels?
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, but
Do
the
I think
larger
that the
question is
niqab might
about
be
the
something
institutions
different? I
as
do.
well.
But this is not about the niqab.
Fine.
This is about a hijab.
Yes. So,
So
let
to
me.
say that your belief or somebody else's belief or the Hindutva rights belief about what people should wear should govern is,
Fine.
I don't think, right or fair.
Yes,
And
but
I don't think that the Islamic Republic of Iran should be telling women to wear hijabs. I
Yeah,
don't think
that
that
is
our
an
state should be
imposition
telling
there.
women to take off hijabs.
No, that is an imposition there, Ms. Nandi. Let me give final words now to A.M. Dar. That is an imposition that we are looking at in Iran. And also, when we look at agency, how can wearing hijab be seen as an agency, Mr. Dar, when it is not really an essential religious practice? So,
You see,
let
we
me give you a
cannot compare
counter argument. Let me give you a counter argument to this. So, I'm a Muslim here.
Please.
I don't wear a hijab. There is an Ambar Zaidi who doesn't wear a hijab. And if you're making it about agency, then how should we be viewing it?
Let me first clear that Iran is an Islamic Republic country.
Yes.
We are having a democracy here. It's a secular country. There may be a state authority in Iran where they must be passing, a lot of circulars, notifications, and there has to be a decree from the highest priest or highest mullah.
No, but then,
in Iran.
what you're doing
But
here
that-
is that
yes.
there you're talking about a decree from a mullah. Here you are saying that there is a decree from
Yes.
the Quran, which is not correct. You're
Yes,
essentially extending
no,
it
this is-
in that
No, no,
argument
no.
that is being put
I will
forth.
I will clarify that. You see, we are governed by the Holy Quran. Since I submitted it that there are 3 verses of the Holy Quran which will govern it. And then it is mentioned in the Quran that we have to cover the beauty and the chastity.
No,
and
then in
also the
that
privacy.
case, then
We
in
got
that
exposed.
case,
And-
so
and-
if I'm not following
Yes.
it, then I'm a bad Muslim. Does it make me a bad Muslim?
No.
No. You see, I will tell you, I will explain it. You see, that is why I'm saying that since here we have a protection of our belief, of a choice. The choice and belief is not protected in Iran. There is something different. We are governed by the constitution.
No,
and once the constitution gives
but
the
Mr.
protection,
Dar,
if you
what
don't- if
essential you can
No,
talk about accommodation
Yes.
in an institution.
Yes,
An
yes.
institution has a right.
You see-
You have a choice of not going to that
Yes.
institution if you want to want to practice it. But the larger question here is
Yes.
also that there are 5 essential pillars of Islam, which is belief, right? And Amber,
Yes,
it is Iman as we
Correct.
say. Then we say Roza, Namaz,
yes.
Zakat and Hajj.
Zakat and
right?
Zakat, yes.
These are
Yes,
essential
absolutely.
religious practice. Where does hijab, niqab and all those ideas come in?
Oh, there are 3 surahs. Maria, there are 3 surahs. Surah Azab is there. Surah Nur is there, which are the commandments of the Allah. And it was revealed to our Prophet. And through messenger, Jibreel alayhi salam. And then if it is a part of the Quran, now how can we forget? You see, that was the question also the Karnataka High Court judgment gave that there is no punishment prescribed.
But the question
That
is
wa-
that,
that
if the
was
Karnataka High Court settled the essential religious practice argument, and then we are seeing another twist that has happened in the court, there are several other aspects, including essential religious practice, will be revisited. Whether hijab is intrinsic to Islam will be revisited. Whether the constitution protects the right of the institution, is that above the right of an individual? All these aspects will be taken up for discussion in the apex court. I really appreciate your time, Karnanandi, Mr. Dar and Ambar Zaidi. Of course, this is a discussion which will be continuing for the next few months, I believe, here in India. Let me shift focus to what happened last evening. At the CNN News 18 Indian of the Year Award, Union Minister Nitin Gadkari honored the Indians whose contribution towards the society had a cut above the rest. Here are some of the highlights.
24,000 रुपये निकले वहाँ से, तो उन्हीं 24,000 रुपयों को हमने इन्वेस्ट किया और केंद्राडी गांव जो टेल्को के हुडको एरिया के जस्ट बगल में है, वहीं से पहले 2 टॉयलेट बना के ये जर्नी जो है वो शुरू हुई।
After incessant rains lashed several regions of Uttar Pradesh, residents were having to deal with a lot of water that flowed in from various rivers and went above the danger mark. The water levels of Rapti River was flowing well above the danger mark in Gorakhpur, and this severely affected the nearby villages. The flood water even entered the homes of many villagers, forcing them to evacuate. The Royal Luxury liner and the train Palace on Wheels, which came to a halt in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, was flagged off from the Safdarjung railway station in the national capital. This train will be running under the operation and maintenance model Bharat Gaurav train policy of the Indian Railways, and this award-winning train will leave Delhi every Wednesday.
India's tradition is not just about thousands of years of old heritage, but ours is also a culture of reform and change. Nothing has remained static in this beautiful country, in this ever-evolving nation. Religious, social, cultural, and educational reforms have reinvented and redefined our culture. And that's exactly what makes our next category of social change so special. Because these are the very people who have risen above the resistance, challenged the status quo, and made headways. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the chosen ones for the Indian of the Year Social Change.
And the nominees are: this Gurugram-based NGO became a symbol of hope during the second COVID wave. Their network of volunteers provided life-saving oxygen concentrators to thousands. They also gave relief to flood victims in Assam. Himkund Foundation. This Buldhana resident is on a mission to make higher education accessible to youngsters from marginalized sections of society. His foundation, Eklavya, mentors and empowers hundreds of first-generation learners. Raju Kendre. He's known as the 5 rupees doctor, a skin specialist from Mandya in Karnataka. For the last 38 years, he has been charging his patients just 5 rupees for consultation and prescribing affordable medicines. Dr. Shankare Gowda. These 10 lakh plus volunteers from within the community go door to door and help people get access to various government healthcare schemes. The World Health Organization has recognized them as global health leaders. Asha workers. This Kashmiri teenager is a 2-time world kickboxing champion. After achieving her dreams, she is now inspiring women in Bandipora to take up sports as a passion by opening an academy there. Tajamul Islam.
It's an honor to have amongst us Mr. Nitin Gadkari, Union Minister for Road, Transport and Highways. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Mr. Gadkari, who is here with us.
So the Indian of the Year in the category of social change.
Indian of the Year 2022. Category Social Change. Winner Dr. Shankar Gowda.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Shankare Gowda, the 5 rupee doctor from Mandya. May I also request our political editor Maria Shakil to accompany the winner of the Indian of the Year 2022 in the social change category. Please put a loud round of applause for Dr. Shankare Gowda.
Thank you so much. And congratulations, Dr. Shankare Gowda. I'm going to begin with you. A complete medical package for just ₹5. No matter what the ailments are, that is his medical fee that he charges, and that he has been doing it for 35 long years. Dr. Shankare, how are you sustaining yourself, and what does this mean to you?
I am practicing since 1982. It's 40 years from my graduation. Only I am practicing in Mandya as a dermatologist. I am taking only ₹5 from that days. Now also I am taking ₹5. But it is not that one thing. Whatever the knowledge we are having it should be available to all the peoples as such. When we are only treating the patients who are rich and who are affordable, I don't think so. Our knowledge is going to be realized or even given to the people.
Mr. Gadkari, at a time when the medical profession clearly has become commercialized, this kind of service that is being given by Dr. Shankare Gowda, what does it mean for the larger country? What does it mean to all those doctors and hospitals who are charging too much money?
Actually, it is really a great thing for Dr. Gowda. Actually, in the medical profession, in the degree course, there is one subject is ethics.
Yes.
And in ethics, the social consciousness, social responsibility is very important. No philosophy can be taught to empty stomach. That is absolutely correct. But at the same time, serve the poor people of the society is exactly the most important thing for the people who are representing actually the leader of the society. And as a doctor, what actually he is doing for the poor people, it is really a great thing. And I feel that I always tell it to people that when anyone can do anything for the poor people, the God is so great, he will get more money from other things, from other patients, those who are capable to pay. So that is exactly the most important thing, and this is the indication that all doctors should think in this line. Not ₹5, but if they can even reasonably charge, it can be a great thing for the country, for the poor people.
Dr. Shankare Gowda, you heard, I mean, that's a lesson perhaps for the medical community. What was your motivation when you started it?
Actually, when I graduated from Kasturba Medical College, Manipal, I wanted to practice in my village. Village means in my district. Why I wanted to practice in my village is whatever the knowledge we have gained, it should be given to the people who are with me. With me means they are responsible for my education, and also I have received so many awards. But only thing I would like to tell you is there are so many doctors nowadays. There are so many shortages of doctors in rural areas. We need much of the doctor as such. Especially in Karnataka, there are 8,000 to 9,000 graduates will pass out from every year. Whatever we need about is only 300 to 400 doctors for the rural area service. We won't get that much of doctors in rural area. That should not be the criteria. Whatever the social responsibility of the government or the medical fraternity, they should work in rural areas at least. It's a
That should be compulsory. Thank you so much, Dr. Shankare
the
Gowda.
state government made it a compulsory for a 1 year service in the rural area. That is the very good thing, whatever the Sudhakar is doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That is Dr. Shankare Gowda, the winner in the social change category. Dr. Shankare Gowda, thank you so much.
If necessity is the mother of innovation, then adversity brings out the best and the worst in all of us. When the deadly second wave hit the entire nation, each of us lent a helping hand to another. The nation emerged as one big family. During those difficult times, there were some who went beyond the call of their duty, whose empathy touched the hearts of millions. CNN News 18 Indian of the Year Special Achievement Award honors one such Indian, or should we say the Robin Hood of India, whose kindness and charity has carved a permanent place in all our hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting before you the Indian of the Year Special Achievement Award.
He's the real hero who became a real-life savior for thousands. Throughout the pandemic, he was at the forefront of relief efforts, becoming a messiah of the masses. When the nationwide lockdown was announced, he helped migrant and daily wage workers who were walking thousands of kilometers to reach their homes. He arranged buses, special trains, and chartered flights for them. He opened the doors of his Mumbai hotel to provide a safe place to frontline warriors who were facing social stigma despite risking their lives to treat COVID patients. He also arranged hospital beds, oxygen cylinders, and medicines for those in need, saving thousands of lives in the process. His efforts have only multiplied since then. From scholarships for students to helping small businesses, he's always striving to make the world a better place. The CNN News 18 Indian of the Year Special Achievement Award goes to Sonu Sood.
A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Sonu Sood.
Congratulations, Sonu Sood. The actor who has transformed himself as nation's savior, what really made you go for that ultimate service that you have displayed during the pandemic and even post that?
First of all, thank you so much for this honor, and I don't know that I really deserve this or not, but receiving from Nitinji is more special because, you know, we have a Nagpur connection from where I did my engineering. You know, I came to Nagpur to do my engineering, completed my engineering, wanted to become an actor, and I thought that, you know, that was my ultimate dream. Did films in multiple languages, and when I became kind of famous, I thought, you know, God's been kind, but then I would say I discovered myself when I connected with millions of people, you know, in the last 2.5 years, and then I realized that no amount of 100 crore, 200 crore films can give you that kind of happiness when you connect with an unknown soul. You bring a smile on a face that you don't know, and I think that was the most special journey of my life. And I miss my parents every day. You know, I remember my mom always used to say that कि सोनू कभी अपनी मुट्ठी खोल कर तो देख, शायद तेरी हाथ की लकीरों में किसी की जान बचाना लिखा हो. And finally it happened. And you know, I feel that, you know, I'm playing the most important role of my life. You know, I thought, you know, though I played many characters in different films, but this was the most important role of my career, where Almighty was a director, and I'm still playing my role, and I wish and pray that this movie shouldn't end, and I should keep on doing my role every day. And thank you, God, for everything.
So, before I play an AV, which actually shows what is outside your houses even today, Mr. Gadkari, a quick question from you as well. You have often said that politics is an instrument of socio-political change. When people like Sonu Sood, he's an exception who has made a mark for himself and has, you know, sent a message to the country at large. Who do you think and what do you think will lead to that larger change?
Actually, in my childhood, I remember one Sanskrit Geet. Manasa satatam smaraniyam, vachasa satatam vadaniyam, lokahitam mama karaniyam. The true meaning of the politics is what Sonu is doing, that is exactly the meaning of the politics. What you are talking and what you are discussing, that is power politics. Samaj Karan, Rashtra Karan and Vikas Karan. The Seva Karan. He is doing actually in the concept of Mahatma Gandhi ji. And before that, the true meaning of the politics is social service. The selfless social service is the true meaning of the politics. And that's the reason I always tell it to people that the politics is the instrument of socio-economic reform. And when I was president of the Bharatiya Janata Party, I requested all MLAs and MPs that they should have a project in social work with Seva Prakalpa, education, even for development, and that is very important for the society. And that is exactly the true meaning. And he is doing really this is the politics which he is doing, and this is national service. This is service for the poor people, and this is the concept of Mahatma Gandhi. What politics he was expecting, that is exactly the indication what Sonu is doing for the society. That is exactly the inspiration and motivation for the people of the country.
Sir. That is a day outside Sonu Sood's house.
I just want to, tell a small thing which is related to this. You know, when hundreds of people come to my house every day, so, I spend a lot of time with them. So I remember there was a very big meeting happening with the studio for one of my movies, and I forgot about it. So I was with these guys. So the studio director, Mr. Sharik, he came to my house. So he was in that crowd for almost 45 minutes in one corner and watching me do that. And then he left a message. He said, Sonu, मुझे शायद तुम्हारे साथ पिक्चर बना के उतनी खुशी नहीं होती जितना मैंने आज उस 45 मिनट में मुझे खुशी मिली है. So I think that's what blessings do, and thank you so much for this.
Do these messages give tears to you? I can see you're all emotional.
This is very special. I think I can't put in words, but every single day when I see those people standing in front of my house, sometimes they sleep in the middle of night, they wait for me to wake up in the morning. So I think that gives me a sense of responsibility that Almighty, please make me that, give me that ability to help them forever. बोलते हैं ना कि जब तक लोग उम्मीद लगा कर बैठेंगे उसके लिए मैं कोशिश जरूर करता रहूं, बस वो उम्मीद ना टूटे उसी की कोशिश रहेगी हमेशा.
And sirs, we could not have got anybody better to award, the change makers in this category, because you yourself have been involved in a lot of social work back home in Nagpur.
I'm telling you the experience. I'm not doing politics. Even I'm not going to bother about the people. I always tell people, if you feel I am perfect, please vote me. Because people are understanding. If we can truly doing social service for the people, people are so great, without thinking of caste, religion, creed and sex, they will vote you. That is my experience in my life, and I like it, I believe it, and I always doing 80 to 90% of my energy I am spending for my positive social work. And that is always telling to the politician also, you do good social work, you don't need to make advertisement, don't need to print posters, people will vote you. That is exactly the important for all politicians.
With that mantra, Sonu, what next in your projects? There are multiple projects your way. What next will we be seeing you doing?
We are opening some skill development centers. We have already started two, one in Mangalore and one in UP we are starting. I plan to open a few schools also. I was talking to Nitinji also. The first one we're planning to start in the interiors of Nagpur. We are getting one in UP. And in Punjab too. So yes, I think if we can give good education to the newer generation, people who can't afford that, so I think we'll have a better nation. So trying to do my bit, learning every single day. There are still miles to go, but the journey is on.
Okay, and with that, I'm opening the floor for audience questions. Please go ahead. Yes.
And I think it's apt to get this question, one social warrior, social service warrior to another. Prasiddhi, a young climate warrior, had a question for Sonu sir.
So, I'm a young environmentalist, as you mentioned. So, my doubt was that I'm sure many people like me, the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, millennials, neo-millennials, are very inspired by your work during the pandemic. But then how did you come up with this plan of execution on such a large scale to build such an impact? How did you come up with the execution and how was your journey basically?
Actually I never knew anything about, how to send people back to their homes, how to, arrange buses, flights. I remember the first flight that flew with the migrants, we started from Ernakulam. There were 179 girls who were stuck and we got them to Cochin and from there we got them to Bhubaneswar. So I never knew anything, but I think those wishes made that happen. I knew that when I tried to help those first lot of 350 people who were going to Karnataka, so and I thought my job is done, but when I was coming back from Thana, back to my home in Mumbai, everything looked like everything is happening in slow motion, and I thought this is not the story of these 350 people, but millions who are stuck on the roads, and that's the time I pledged that, I'm not going to stop till I make last migrant reach back to their homes. And I think the wishes did the trick. A lot of parents who were waiting for their loved ones to come back, and I think their prayers gave me that courage, gave me that strength to do what I'm doing today.
Those are the stories, Sonu. I mean, so many people in my family area have been so inspired by the work that you've done. It's an absolute honor to have you. Gadkari ji, thank you so much for your time.
Many congratulations.
Thank you so
Many
much.
congratulations. Thank you, Maria, for leading that conversation.
और 2014 में मैंने शुरू किया और 2016 में जाके मेरा पिगी बैंक जो है वो कम्प्लीटली फुल हो गया। तो मैंने जब उस पिगी बैंक को फोड़ा तब 24,000 रुपये निकले वहाँ से। तो उन्हीं 24,000 रुपयों को हमने इन्वेस्ट किया और केंद्राडी गांव जो टेल्को के हुडको एरिया के जस्ट बगल में है, वहीं से पहले 2 टॉयलेट बना के ये जर्नी जो है वो शुरू हुई।
After incessant rains lashed several regions of Uttar Pradesh, residents were having to deal with a lot of water that flowed in from various rivers and went above the danger mark. The water levels of Rapti River was flowing well above the danger mark in Gorakhpur, and this severely affected the nearby villages. The flood water even entered the homes of many villagers, forcing them to evacuate. The Royal Luxury liner and the train Palace on Wheels, which came to a halt in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, was flagged off from the Safdarjung railway station in the national capital. This train will be running under the operation and maintenance model Bharat Gaurav train policy of the Indian Railways. And this award-winning train will leave Delhi every Wednesday on its scheduled time and will go through the cities of Rajasthan. Amid the change of guard in the BCCI top brass, the board president Sourav Ganguly broke his silence today and said that he cannot be an administrator forever. The former India captain is set to be replaced as board president by Roger Binny.
It's iconic when you enter the game in the morning, and after that I've gone back to play many a number of matches, went back as captain, went back as commentator, went back as an administrator. So I can see the history behind that ground. How people come and enjoy it. It's an event. I got this 100 on a Saturday. So a Saturday at Lord's is completely packed. There's not one seat empty because it's a holiday, it's a weekend in England, and people come and watch Test cricket. And England is still a place where Test cricket is alive. It was very much alive during our generation because there was no T20. And then obviously T20 cricket came in, the faster cricket came in. And in many places, Test matches have started to take a back seat.
The Indian women's cricket team beat Thailand by 74 runs to enter Women's Asia Cup final. Chasing 149 for a victory, Thailand could only score 74 for 9 in their allotted 20 overs. And skipper Chaiwai and Nathaya also scored 21 each for Thailand, while Deepti Sharma was the pick of the Indian bowlers with figures of 3 for 7.
जब भी हम पाकिस्तान से खेलते हैं और हमेशा वो इंटरेस्टिंग गेम होता है एंड जस्ट हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि लाइक कौन फाइनल में खेलेगा बट यस हम लोगों का जो माइंड सेटअप है वो काफ़ी क्लियर है कि हम लोगों को क्या करना है हम जस्ट उसी चीज़ पे फोकस कर रहे हैं टीम के लिए अच्छा करते हो और हर चीज़ में आप कंट्रीब्यूट करते हो वो एक आपको कॉन्फिडेंस देता है जो मेरी स्ट्रेंथ है मैं हमेशा उस पर बॉल डालती हूँ और वही फोकस करती हूँ कि अपनी स्ट्रेंथ पे ज़्यादातर रहूँ.
Australian cricketer David Warner's lifetime leadership ban could be lifted as the Cricket Australia directors are contemplating rewriting the organisation's code of ethics. Warner was handed a leadership ban following the infamous 2018 ball tampering scandal. But the 35-year-old, who is closing in on 100 T20 internationals and 100 test appearances, has been looked upon as a possible candidate for Australia's vacant ODI captain's position. In a fresh twist in the Congress presidential poll, Shashi Tharoor has alleged that there is a difference in treatment between candidates within the party. Tharoor has claimed that there is a bias and an uneven playing field in the elections within the party, and the election for the Congress top leadership is supposed to happen on October 17, and the results will be declared on the 19th of October.
हम चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, कोई दुश्मनी का कोई स्पिरिट नहीं है हमारे पार्टी में. खड़गे साहब तो मेरे सीनियर नेता है, मैं उनके साथ काम भी किया हूं. जब वो लोकसभा में लीडर थे मैं उनके साथ बहुत नज़दीकी से काम किया. ये तो दो सहयोगी एक साथ पार्टी की मजबूती के लिए किस तरीके के काम करना, इसी के है हमारे चुनाव. मैं चाहता हूं कि हमारी पार्टी में इस किस्म की बदलाव आ जाए ताकि जो वोटर्स हमारे साथ नहीं रहे 2014 में और 2019 में कि वो वापस आए हमारे पास.
Prime Minister Modi was in pole-bound Himachal Pradesh today, where he flagged off the 4th Vande Bharat Express from Una to New Delhi. Later in the day, Prime Minister also laid the foundation stones of 2 hydropower projects and launched the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana in Una. The state government has announced and inaugurated projects worth more than 4,000 crores in different constituencies over the past month.
भारत की चौथी वंदे भारत ट्रेन को हरी झंडी दिखाने का सौभाग्य मिला. ये भी सोचिए, देश में चौथी वंदे भारत ट्रेन, इतना बड़ा हिंदुस्तान, इतने बड़े बड़े शहर, लेकिन चौथी ट्रेन अगर मिली तो मेरे हिमाचल को मिल गई.
The Uddhav Thackeray faction of the Shiv Sena has alleged the bias by the Election Commission in the allegation of the party symbols and names. The Uddhav Thackeray faction wrote a scathing letter to the Election Commission today and said that the Election Commission of India gave a wide margin to the rival team Shinde to choose a name and symbol of their choice. War of words brewing between the Congress and the BJP after Pradhan Mantri Modi on Monday had said that he would be solving the Kashmir issue by walking in the footsteps of Sardar Patel. In fact, Congress leader Jairam Ramesh accused the BJP of what he termed as whitewashing real history and also said that Prime Minister Modi overlooked facts only to castigate Nehru on Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, Union Minister Kiran Rijiju on Wednesday launched a blistering attack on Congress's Jairam Ramesh over the history of the accession of Kashmir with India and also said that the Congress perpetuated a historical lie to protect the dubious role of Jawaharlal Nehru. Rijiju also said that Nehru rejected Hari Singh's accession request and came up with some special case for Kashmir and wanted much more than what he termed mere accession. Mondirita, a class 12 student from Jamshedpur, contributed towards building toilets in rural areas and schools with the money that she'd saved in her piggy bank. Most girls were dropping out of her school due to lack of toilet facilities, after which Monreta decided to join hands with Prime Minister Swachh Bharat mission.
तो मैंने क्या किया, उसी पॉकेट मनी को मैंने जमाना शुरू किया और 2014 में मैंने शुरू किया और 2016 में जाके मेरा पिगी बैंक जो है वो कम्प्लीटली फुल हो गया। तो मैंने जब उस पिगी बैंक को फोड़ा तब 24,000 रुपये निकले वहाँ से। तो उन्हीं 24,000 रुपये को हमने इन्वेस्ट किया और केंद्राडी गांव जो टेल्को के हुडको एरिया के जस्ट बगल में है, वहीं से पहले 2 टॉयलेट बना के ये जर्नी जो है वो शुरू हुई।
After incessant rains lashed several regions of Uttar Pradesh, residents were having to deal with a lot of water that flowed in from various rivers and went above the danger mark. The water levels of Rapti river was flowing well above the danger mark in Gorakhpur, and this severely affected the nearby villages. The flood water even entered the homes of many villages, forcing them to evacuate. The Royal Luxury liner and the train Palace on Wheels, which came to a halt in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, was flagged off from the Safdarjung railway station in the national capital. This train will be running under the operation and maintenance model Bharat Gaurav train policy of the Indian Railways. And this award-winning train will leave Delhi every Wednesday on its scheduled time and will go through the cities of Rajasthan. Amid the change of guard in the BCCI top brass, the board president Sourav Ganguly broke his silence today and said that he cannot be an administrator forever. The former India captain is set to be replaced as board president by Roger Binny.
It's iconic when you enter the game in the morning, and after that I've gone back to play many a number of matches. Went back as captain, went back as commentator, went back as an administrator. So I can see the history behind that ground. How people come and enjoy it. It's an event. I got this 100 on a Saturday. So a Saturday at Lord's is completely packed. There's not one seat empty because it's a holiday, it's a weekend in England, and people come and watch Test cricket. And England is still a place where Test cricket is alive. It was very much alive during our generation because there was no T20. And then obviously T20 cricket came in, the faster cricket came in. And in many places, Test matches have started to take a back seat.
The Indian women's cricket team beat Thailand by 74 runs to enter Women's Asia Cup final. Chasing 149 for a victory, Thailand could only score 74 for 9 in their allotted 20 overs. And skipper Chaiwai and Nathaya
Namaste. Thank you for joining us here on this edition of The Right Stand. I am Anand Narsimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, they say. But should itihasa, or as it